Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 25 of Journaling on a Budget, starting over. And today I am going to play with Mardi Gras beads. I was asked to do a spine dangle with Mardi Gras beads because the lady that asked said I have a ton of them. And I think probably we all, your kids have them, or, whatever. You get them at New Year's, you get them at Mardi Gras if you live close. But what do you do with them? They're all hooked together, just a lot of times their colors. Red is not my favorite color. This one is kind of in, I don't know, I want to say bad shape or whatever, but it's got a lot of extra little pieces of the red paint stuck between the beads. And, but it really doesn't matter because you don't have to leave them just like that. Remember, whenever you have a lot of something, you think, how can I use that? I hate that color, especially if it's like, I don't like that color. Change the color, no matter what it is. And now you could really carefully paint each bead and then put a clear coat on it so that it would stay. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to choose this gold right here, and I'm going to paint it with some brown. Put a piece of scrap paper underneath of it. And oh, and before we do that, I'm going to show you something that some of you may have seen before, but some of you may not have, because I painted some black earlier, and I have some really dirty paint. This is kitty litter, just clumping kitty litter. And this is my paint water. Now, the thing about paint water is you do not want to dump this down your sink, even if it's just acrylic paint. Acrylic is plastic. And so you don't want to clog up your sinks. And so just put it into, now if that was a pretty color, I might put it into a basin and use it to dye paper. But that was really ugly. But see what's settled in the bottom? And I just like swooshed my brushes on the bottom and gave it a little swoosh and stuff. That's the stuff that's going to collect in your sink, and it's going to clog your sink. So don't put that in there. Put it in some clumping kitty litter, and then when it gets all clumped up, just take it out and throw it in the garbage. So, or you can, like I live in the country. Sometimes I just take them and throw them out in the woods, but that's probably not good for the environment either. So that's just what you do with your, I have a clean thing of water here. I want to clean my brushes. That's what you do with your ucky painty water if it's not a pretty color. Dump it in some kitty litter. Or if you've got, like if you've been doing a lot of stuff with your water glue and that type of thing, and you've been rinsing your brushes in a thing of water, just make sure that you don't dump it down your sink. So I'm just going to dry these off a little bit because I don't want super wet paint because we're painting on plastic, which plastic doesn't really care to be painted on that much, but it works. So I have a couple of colors of brown here, and I'm going to just put a couple colors on my palette just for the fact of if you use a couple of colors, it kind of gives a little bit more depth. I'm going to paint the gold one, so I'm going to have kind of a dark brown, a medium brown, and gold in my beads when I'm done. So, and then you're just going to take your beads and paint them. And like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. And you're going to still see the gold show through. If you want to be super, super picky, you can make sure that you go between each bead and get the string. So that, because this string is white, and so if you don't want white string on there, just tap between the beads and color that white string. But I don't do this really like carefully or anything. I just paint it. And then, like I've got this painted now. And see, you can, I don't know if you can tell, but you can still see some of that gold there. I'm just going to kind of flip it over and make sure that I get some from the other side. Now, when you do this, it's going to kind of get all over. I just like to flip it over just to kind of make sure that I have a decent amount of my brown paint on there. And so I'll put this up here, so hopefully maybe you can kind of see it. See, you can see a little bit of the gold on there. And like I said, you can let this dry also. Let it dry and put another coat on it. That will cover up the gold a little more. I don't really want to cover up the gold completely. I want it to show through because it's sparkly, it's gold. And, you know, even though I don't want this plain old yucky plastic bead on my journal, this with the gold shining through, I'm not going to mind that. I'm going to like that. Of course, you know, brown is my color. I did some in black earlier because I thought the gold would show up more, which it really, you know, it does kind of show up. But, and that looks good too. Some people really like the black. And I'm going to play with this black to show you. Now, once you've done that, now what are you going to do with it? So you're not going to leave it together. You're going to cut it into a length that's going to work for your journal. I don't know if this is the right length or not. I just cut it. So that's a pretty good length. It's as long as my journal. If it hangs down a little over the edge, that's okay. And you don't have to do brown. You don't have to do black. You know, you can do blue, purple, whatever color you want to is totally fine. And so now that we've got that done, I'm going to put those brushes in there. And just going to kind of put this paint on here because I use so much in the brown tones. This may look very messy to you, but I will more than likely use it for something. So long as I kind of get a lot of that white covered up, because I don't care for the white. Now, the other thing is, once this is dry, I might spray it with a little bit of tea and then get that background tea dyed so that it's not so white. And I think it looks cool. I like the way that the edges of the thing made these little swooshes there. So there we go. Throw that aside and use that for something at another point. So then once you've got your beads, and you're going to want to cut them to the length that you want. And so there you go. Now you've got the start of a dangle. Now I could do maybe 2 browns and a gold. Ooh, that would be kind of pretty. Or what about a brown, a gold, and a black? I think I might like that too. I think I'm going to cut it right there. Still going to let this brown dry a little bit. Set that gold aside with it. And we'll play with the black for right now because it is dry. And like I said, if you don't want the gold to show up, see how that's really showing through there? But I think it looks cool. Now, you can go ahead and you can clear coat this with something if you want to. I don't normally. You know, with something like this, I'm going to leave it. If it chips off a little bit, that's okay with me. Because then it just gives a little more gold. It gives a little more interest. And I want to show you something else while the brown's drying. And just to show you something else you can do with these. Maybe you don't want to make a spine dangle. But this is what I do with them mostly. I use them for jars. And actually, I store them in these jars. Just any kind of that kind of beads that is stuck on a string and doesn't come off. So here's some very flat ones. You know, these were kind of disc shaped. These are just regular round ones. And these are glued on to the jar here. And these ones I used spackle to do the top of this jar. And then I just went ahead and laid that right in the spackle while it was drying. And then once it dried, then I just painted everything the way that I wanted to. And then you just rub a little metallic paint on them. That makes them look even better. But that's what I use these for all the time, is something where I'm going to stretch across the bottom of a canvas or something. And, you know, glue it right on there or stick it into something like a spackle across the bottom of a canvas, let it dry, then paint it, and then I normally highlight it with something so it actually shows up. Something that normally you say it's ugly, I don't want to use it. Now you're highlighting it to make it show up. So see, and then look at this one. Okay, this one came this way, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but this one is very metallic, but it's green and it's blue and it's purple and it's gold. It's just showing up all different colors, just like what we did right here, except that's only going to be 2 colors, black and gold and brown and gold, you know. So they make them that way. Now we just made our own that way. But, and then there's all different kinds, like these are stars, and there's stars and a few beads, and then a star and a few beads. And again, this is that kind of string where it's all just stuck to, the beads are stuck, they're glued on there, you can't get them off. And here's one with flowers on it, and exactly the same type. So you can use these, and I did this one here with another little one just above it, so that, you know, there's actually 2 layers of them, one there, and then I came down and put one here. So, you know, there's just always, here's one that, so this one is great big round circles and little circles, but they're stuck there. You're not getting them off. So now that one's really pretty. I might use that the way it is and maybe stamp on it or something. But so there's a lot of things you can do with them. You know, I used to look at them as junk beads. Like I never thought I would use them until I kind of started figuring out that if you paint them, you make them look totally different. And so to me, that's, you know, that's what I'm going for. So what you can do with them. What did I do with the one that I finished? I finished one that's really cool. And I want to put it, I think, maybe even on the front of my journal. Here it is. So here's one that I've already done. And it has a loop at the end so that I can hang it on the journal. But I went ahead and between each of the beads, I tied embroidery floss. And so, and then once I had the embroidery floss on there, it was kind of ugly. So then I just combed it until all the different little strands came apart. And I was going to use this as a dangle on the side, but I really kind of think that I either want to do something like that, or I really think I want to do something. I'll have to cut it down a little bit, but I really think I kind of want to put it on here just kind of like a swag. Maybe, ooh, I wonder if I could go around. And then put a spot. I like that. I think that's what I'm going to do with that. So, and then I will probably put a little bit of glue down behind them, you know, kind of figure out how to fan them all out and how I want it to look exactly. And then just a little bit, like maybe even a little stick glue or something, just to kind of hold them out like that so that they don't all fall down. I like that. When I get that done, I'll show you. Because that one's going to be a while. It's going to be, these still need to be combed out just a little bit. And I combed them with a wire brush. Now, if you don't have a wire brush, I always used to comb things with a comb. But I remembered that I had these. And so I got them at the hardware at, what do you call it? Harbor Freight. I think I got a pack of 6 of them for like $1.99 or something. So they're not really expensive. I'm sure you could buy them really expensive. Go to some place like Harbor Freight or something like that and just look at the really cheap stuff. But I just went ahead then and I just combed them like that. And then I kind of went sideways, like, you know, like this, after I kind of got them apart, just kind of fluffed them up a little bit. So that is going to go on the front cover, I think, because I really like the looks of that. Okay, I've decided what I'm going to do with that. Now, let's make a dangle for the side. And so what do we don't just want to dangle some beads on the side. So what about using some fancy yarns, like eyelash trim or something like that, which I just had a piece of it. I'm doing so good today. I just had a piece out. Well, let's do one in white, because I always love using the white. So let's do the black one in white. Let's do black and white. All right, now I always have a hard time tying eyelash trim, so you can always just glue it around the top. Put some glue between those top 2 beads. I'm going to try and tie this just so that I know that it's tight, because eventually I'll be selling this journal, and when I do, I wouldn't want it to fall apart. So I'm going to just put a knot in the top. And there we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to leave that little bit stick out, at least for now, because I kind of like it. And then I'm just going to wrap it around between each of the beads. So just, which, you know, can be just a touch fiddly, but that's all right. We're not supposed to, you know, everything is not supposed to happen in just 2 seconds. The whole point of creating something is coming up with something you like and giving you something to do. So you don't have to worry about whether something is super fast. And, you know, when I do these crafting things, I do kind of plan them out ahead of time so that or at least I try to. Today, on a couple of my videos, I've been missing things. But, you know, just don't think that everything just goes super, super fast for anybody. Or if it's something they've been doing forever and you're just starting, don't expect that it's going to go as fast for you. And don't expect that it's going to be quite as easy for you. You know, you'll need to do it a couple of times first. It's okay. It's all really, really about the time that you're creating, not really about what you create. Because creating is really good for the soul. I think it's very relaxing, and it takes your mind off of things. Because while you're doing this, you got to kind of think about what you're doing. I'm going to put a little bit of glue right there in front of me, just to kind of tack it down a little bit, maybe. Ooh, that's not a little bit of glue. That's a whole ton of glue. But that's okay. It dries clear. There. This will keep it from coming unwound. Probably I should have maybe even done that part way up before I got this far. But yeah, just enjoy your crafting. And don't compare yourself to anybody else. Either way, you know, don't think, oh, theirs is all better than mine. And, you know, and don't really compare yourself to, oh, I do better than they do, because maybe they're just starting. So, you know, let's all just like be here for each other and be positive. Every so often I've been getting some comments that are not so nice, and they really don't bother me. You know, that may be easier said than, you know, what you think, but it's just one of those things where some people just want to be crabby. And I don't want to be crabby. So, you know, if they don't like what I'm doing, that's totally fine with me. I'm sorry they don't like it. But, you know, it's not going to change what I'm doing. And there we go. Now, how does that look? I think it looks pretty cool. And if you don't think it looks pretty cool, oh well. So there we go. I'm going to just cut that off. Now, I actually could have like maybe made a loop on the end of that so that I had a loop on it, but I'm just going to connect them all at the top together and make a loop out of that. I'm going to leave that little bit hang off the bottom because I like that. Now, you could also, if you have some charms, you can tie some thread on there and tie a charm to it. You can hook a piece of chain with this. You don't have to use all of this. You could use one piece of this along with a couple pieces of chain, a couple of ribbons, you know, whatever it is that you want to play with. You know, you don't have to use just this. But I do think that they look really quite cool. Now maybe put some homemade beads hanging off of them. Even though they're beads, so that the beads would dangle at different lengths. This is the one thing that I had planned out. And I really hadn't planned what else to do with them. But you could even take them. You could take like 1, kind of put it around. Will it go around? I kind of wanted it to go all the way around and not so that it would just hang down only part way, but I don't like the way that that looks. And you just got to try things, but it does actually look kind of cool. Just put it around like that and cut it off right there. So that would be 4 gold beads. So let's do that. 4 gold beads. I hope I have some more. 1, 2, 3, 4 gold beads. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because 4 fits around here. So I'm going to take this and I'll put some glue on it. And then I'm just going to wrap it around and have it meet at the other side. Now, I probably should have like a clothespin or something here, something to hold it. But because it's not going to want to, as I'm playing with this, it's not going to necessarily want to stay there. But I do want to grab a piece of parchment to set it on so it doesn't glue itself to my paper. Oops. I have a little piece of parchment left, so I'll just take this whole piece out for now. Yes, but you can put them on there and then, you know, let them sit. I would say put a clothespin on there because the glue is going to stick to the paint on the other beads and it's going to stick to those fibers and hopefully stick to itself at the ends. So, you know, so the glue will stick. It's just going to need a little bit of time to dry. But I thought that that might be cool to put one there and one in the middle and one at this end. And see how that looks, because that gives it a little bit more dimension. You know, it makes it fatter in those areas. On the end. And it really looks kind of cool. It almost looks like a ring. And I'm going to put this one on. Oops, so that if I can get it on there, my parts that are coming together, the 2 beads that are coming together are on this side, just like that one. Although it's not going to matter when it's hanging and dangling, it's going to twist anyway, so they don't have to be on the same side. And if you don't have any clothespins or any kind of a clip, you can just come back in every so often, don't wait too long, but just come back in and keep pinching them together until it really starts to stick. Because your wet glue just takes a little while to grab. And you could use hot glue too. I'm not a big hot glue fan, just because I tend to burn myself. And I have a problem with, you know, like getting it all over. I can't use the right amount. I just not good at it. So I don't use it that often. I do use it sometimes. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with using it. I'm just not good at using it. So there we go. I definitely need to find myself a couple little clothespins to hold that so I don't have to. But I think I do like the way it looks. What do you think? See? It looks kind of cool, and it just makes it a little fatter in those areas. So there, that's one part of our dangle then. And then what else do we want to go with it? We could actually put some of this white fibers, just some of those white fibers hanging down, to give it a little bit of softness, because this is just so, you know, these beads are just so hard that, you know, you kind of want it to feel fluffy. Not to the touch. Well, even to the touch, but just even to the eye, you just kind of don't want it to seem so hard, which is why I like to kind of decorate them up a little bit. You know, just so that until I like the looks of it. Okay, so I really will go later on, and I will put a clothespin on each one of those 3 spots to let it dry. But I do like the way that that's turning out. So then we've got the brown and we've got the gold. And let's see, what about just putting some fibers with it? If I'm going to put this on the cover, and that's going to be my dangle. Get that up there. So we've got some blue and we've got some black and some gold, which we have here. And then this thread that I have, it's pink and kind of yellowy gold, and then purple. And so I think that that would look nice with this. This is going to be on the front cover, so this can go with the dangle. And if I just take a piece that maybe is like pink and purple, set this aside for a second. Cut that right there. And then do a piece that is pink and orange. Okay, so now we've got some fibers, and we've got our black beads. I'm just wondering if I want to fold those in half. Let's see. That's kind of going there and there. And we'll have the brown one on there. And do the gold one at the top very short. I like the looks of that. And then I'm going to grab my beads that we made. See if we might want to add a couple beads. While I was over there, I just wanted to show you this. I have tons of these plastic kids beads. And again, they're from years ago. And a lot of people don't, you know, it's kind of like, what am I going to do with that? Now, these are actually quite pretty and very, they look good, but they're so light and everything. But if you have a bunch of these and you don't like the looks of them, and there's a bunch of different styles or whatever, paint them. Just paint them. That's the thing. Whatever you don't like, you can always fix it by just changing it up a little bit. So maybe we want some beads on there. Ooh. This is a piece of white yarn that we dyed blue. Doesn't really go with that. Oh, here's one that we colored different colors. It's got a little sparkle in it because when we colored it, the yarn itself had some silver. I like the looks of that. We're going to put that on there. Ooh, what about a flower at the top? Maybe. That color doesn't go. That one does. Put that at the top. And then I keep looking back over at this because I'm trying to see, we've got orange and we've got a bluish purple and we've got red. So orange would go good with that. That would all go good with it. And maybe put that bead on there. So then how are we going to hook it together? How about if we just sew it. Anything else out of there? Not right now. So I'm going to grab some white thread. Doesn't need to be white thread. It could be any color. I'm just grabbing the white because I know there's a needle in it. Because I was just using it the other day. So I'm going to sew through that bead and sew through those flowers. I'm going to put them on the top kind of like a bead cap. At least that's what I'm going to try. And we'll see how that turns out. I have to put my glasses on. My hands are kind of messy. I'm going to double my thread before I put the knot in so that I don't pull the needle off. Wow. I've got paint on the thread. Okay, so let's look at this. First, we'll take, let's see, I'm going to take these two. Come up from the bottom. I think maybe I'll take a couple stitches to hook them together so they don't move on me. And then I'm going to sew the orange bead to the top. Okay, that should hold them. Come up on the side where I want the edge of the bead to be. And luckily, my needle fit through there. I didn't even think about that. Okay, and then I want to put that, sewing's not my forte. Okay, so I've got, it's coming out over here. I kind of want to go out straight across from there so that it will hold that down. So that hopefully it will hold it down so that the holes are on the sides and not on the top. Like that. I definitely think that I need to go through there more than once so that it doesn't fall off. And then we'll have to figure out how we're going to attach it to the others. Maybe with the sewing and a little glue to make it a little sturdier. My hands have glue on them and they keep catching the thread and separating it. Yeah. This has to be hard for you to watch. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got that. I kind of like that. So we're going to put this as a topper on our dangle. I'm going to knot it off to make sure that this is all good and tight before I go any further. Oops. Okay, well, it's a good thing I knotted it off, huh? Okay, so we've got that. Now, okay, so we've got this one. Okay, I'm going to start by kind of just folding everything in half. Well, not everything. The things that are going to be folded in half, I'm going to fold those things in half, which is all the fibers. And that gold one. And let's put this one in here. That one. Now, because that gold one is folded in half, it should I'm going to catch around all of this. And what I'm going to do is separate my 2 pieces of thread. Go between the thread above the knot, and so that way that will catch it like that. And then as I loop around, I'm just going through the other side. When you bring your needle under, it makes a loop here. Then you're going to go over and go through that loop, because that just kind of knots it there and holds it. So now we've got that. And then if we attach this to the top like that, and so now I'm going to attach the brown one to the back. I'm going to just kind of tuck it between the 2 gold beads that where I have them folded over. I'm going to put a little glue there. Here it is. To help hold it. Take those top 2 beads. And then I've lost my needle. It's here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of go around the brown bead. I'm just trying to catch it to get it to stay. So, you know, it's probably very hard for you to see that that's the top of the brown bead. So I'm going around there, going underneath, coming back up, going around there again, just to try and catch that top bead. And then with the glue too, go around it a couple more times. Once the glue dries, that should hold it really well. Okay, so now I've done all of that. And that should hold the brown one in there. And we've got the gold there. And once the black is dry, I think I'm going to put the black right in the front like that. But I am going to let it dry first to get those whatchamacalls out to hold the gold. So I'm hoping I have enough thread on here to at least catch this on. I might need to get another thing of thread, but let's catch this on the front of our dangle. Need to find like where my center point is. Bring this around here. Okay, that's not wanting to catch very well, so I'm going to just cut that thread off. Well, let's see if I can knot that thread. Okay, now I'm going to cut it off and get some more so it's easier to deal with. And then we'll sew that together at the top, sew that on, and see what it looks like. Because I think that will be the end of our dangle. Apologize for the way my hands look. But they didn't look like that when I started, so, you know. That's what crafting's all about, getting messy and dirty. Okay, so I'm going to find each side of the dangle. Got that one, we've got the gold one, that one, and that one. And the brown one goes in the back, so it doesn't matter what side it's on. Or maybe I'll let it go in the front. Doesn't matter. Okay, we are going to hook this on now. I want to kind of have this stuff a little flat out so that that's on the front. Make sure I've got a little bit of everything on both sides. Lose your needle. Okay. Kind of find the center. And I'm going to go through the flower. I'm going to go around the beads and the fibers. And the hardest thing is just paying attention to where your thread's at. With all those fibers. The fibers kind of get in the way. Okay. Then I'm going to go through the flower, out to the front, and go through that bead again. Go through there. And when you go through the bead, you want to make sure that when you come out the hole, you go through the same place in your flower almost every time. That's what will hold that bead, you know, like in that position straight with the holes on the sides. If you kind of just go through the bead and then just put your thread anywhere, that hole will be able to move all over the place. But if you really sew it down in just one spot, it will stay there. And I just want to make sure I have it nice and tight. And then if my white thread does show and I don't like seeing it, because I can see it right there on the bead, all I have to do is color it orange. I know that I colored that with an orange permanent marker, so all I have to do is go get an orange permanent marker and color that white thread. While it's right on there, just color it orange. So there we go. That all feels really good and tight. So I'm going to go to the back and knot it off. And then what I will do with the black one, when it's all dry, is just sew it onto here. Lost my needle again. Okay, where's my... I got it upside down. It wouldn't hang right. Couldn't figure out why. That's why. Because the beads are heavy and they do want to be on their correct side. Okay. So far, that's what it looks like. We've got our gold beads, we've got our brown beads down there, all of our different little bits. We've got our flower, and this will be able to go on our spine. Oops, there's the piece I was looking for earlier. That's going to go on there just like that. And then I'll have to decide, how do I want to attach it? Do I want to attach it permanently? If I'm going to attach it permanently, I'll attach it between the two bands. That's the center anyways. But so that this band can go off that side and that band can go off that side if you want to take them off. And I probably will glue it and also very possibly sew it. Just sew through the spine a little bit. There we go. So we've got our brown one there and our gold ones down here. And then we have some fibers. And you know, the thing is that you can just do a dangle just with these beads. But any kind of a dangle, no matter what you're using to make it, it's kind of fun to, you know, put a few different things together, a few different mediums, some fibers, something, you know, some beads or whatever. Like I said, you could make the dangle with just the beads, but to me, I like it to have a little bit of variety so that you have different things. But there we go. I think that looks pretty cool. I think that will be good when it's on there. And I'll attach this after it dries. But like I said, even just that one, even that's just cool, all on its own. You can just do a dangle just like that. And I think that that looks really cool with those little extra gold beads going the other way. It really kind of sets it off. So there we go. Those are some things that you can do with your, what do you call it? With your Mardi Gras beads. You can use them with a dangle as part of other things. You can use it all by itself. And you can also use it to attach to something and put it on some kind of a project that way. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.